Alright, so today we are going to go over how to do some modeling in CAD. Using CAD is an important tool to kind of figure out what our final project is going to look like before we really start building, so we can really make sure we have a full plan and know how all the pieces are going to get assembled before we really start building. To do that, for this first one, we are going to build this 6-inch on all sides cube. You can see, hopefully you can see the seams on here. Yeah, it looks like we can see that okay. You can see that this cube is, well, it's not a cube, it's really 6 pieces of wood that have been glued and nailed together. And we can see that there's kind of this pattern here, right, where there's actually 4 pieces. These pieces of wood are all identical. And then they've kind of been affixed, so in this kind of little overlapping pattern here. Um, so what we want to be able to do is CAD this out to make a drawing of this, fully kind of realize that's going to show all these different pieces, because it'll give us a list of like what parts we need to cut in this. I also show you some other really important tricks in this to be able to modify our design, to kind of modify some values in our design and have the whole design update. So that's an important thing we want to work on here. So let's start with, we're going to go over to Fusion and we're going to start with a sketch. And I want to take a little sketch of the top of this. My initial sketch does not need to be super accurate, but it gives us a place to start from. So we're going to build a little piece like that. So it's always a good idea to start out with just a kind of rough sketch of whatever thing you want to build. See, I already made a little bit of a mistake, but it's going to be okay. There we go. That looks approximately like the top of this, right? Maybe it's reversed or mirrored or whatever, but it should look approximately like that. Like this is the centerpiece and these are all the outside walls. All right, now I want to do something that I don't think we do much again, and I think it's a really important skill, a really powerful thing we can do in Fusion. I'm going to go into Modify, and we're going to do Change Parameters. So it looks like I already have a couple parameters in here. Let's just trash can those two. Parameters, if you've done any coding, parameters are basically like variables. Let me get this on screen. We're going to define a word, and then we're going to say like what its value is. So I have some things to reference in my thing later. So I'm going to add in, I think I'm going to add in a total of 4 to begin with. And I could probably do just a single one for width, height, and length, but I'm going to do 3 separate ones, width, height, and we can do length, or I'm going to do depth. Okay. All right. So those are 6 values. I also want to do the wood thickness, because this wood for this one is going to be a 1/2 inch, but we could also modify this to work with any type of wood. And actually, if we want to be really clear, it's not actually going to be it's not going to be exactly a 1/2 inch. So we want to modify this to make our cuts exactly right, because it's probably going to be a little bit smaller than 1/2 inch. Okay, so let me define all these values like that. Okay, now what I can go back into my design, and I can start to, this is like a rough sketch. I want to go in here and I want to like update some values. One thing, and I could probably do, there's probably some other things I can make this a little bit even easier, but I can set these to be, this is like wood thickness. So that's going to be based on whatever value is stored inside of wood thickness. That's just going to be the width of this wood. I can also say the length from one side to the other should also be let's call this I don't know if we're doing the top view or the side. Let's assume we're doing from the top view. So I'm going to say this is depth. And I can do, so now you can see like I'm starting to get a little more clarity about kind of how these pieces are going to look. I know that this piece, oh, can't quite see it as I cut this thing off. We can see as I select this length on here, it's showing me that this piece is 5.5 inches. So it's already doing that math for me already, based on the full length being 6, and then the thickness of the wood being 0.5. So let me update this. I'm going to do all of the pieces of wood. I'm going to do this as, this is depth. I'm going to do this as width. And again, could be all the same value, but okay. I'm going to go through and just update all the wood thicknesses real quick. All right, so most of the way through here, I actually want to catch something. I had a little bit of an issue. I think I set one of these values to be like 0.5. I thought everything else went as planned, but this one, when I set this to be 0.5, it kind of pulled this in a little bit, and I realized I had to also make this distance and this distance 6. What's kind of keying me off to that is the fact that this is light blue. If it's black, that's letting us know that the thing is fixed, it's constrained, it can't be moved, but these two are light blue, so letting me know if there's a bit of an issue with that. And we'll click these 2 spots, and I'm going to say this is going to be depth. Okay, so we have our first sketch. These are all planned out. Okay, let me show you something that's cool about this, and we'll do this I'll do this again once we start the 3D design part of this, but I can go into Modify. I can change my parameters. And if I say, oh, I don't want to actually do this out of 1/4 inch wood, I want to do this out of out of 1/2 inch, I want to do this out of 1/4 inch, I can change that value and all of these values will update to it. So now I can see this is 0.25. If I select this length here, it's gonna be 5.75. So that lets me know that, like, as I modify these values, everything else will kind of update with it. So if I want to suddenly say that I want to make a piece, I don't want to do 6, I want to do 8. Now this side will increase, and yeah, all the other measurements will also change with it. So that's a really powerful thing, because that works in 2 dimensions, but also once we start working with 3 dimensions, we start building our piece, we can fully plan out this piece, then decide, oh, I don't want to do this out of this type of wood, I want to do it out of a different type of wood, change one value and everything will change. So let's do that as 0.5. I'll say enter here. I think that's a good place to stop. First one, we have our top design. Next thing we need to do a couple things. Let's see, I need to extrude out the top. I think I need to really translate this into 3D. Yeah, okay, so we'll move on to that in just a second.